Well, I want to get y'all's opinion on this because this is kind of tied into it a little bit. What are y'all's opinions about Kamala Harris's price gouging policy that she has put out there? Do you think that this price gouging thing is kind of a good thing to look at? I know, Wes, you mentioned that we have basic food products and we don't want people to capitalize or get price gouge on these particular food products. What are y'all's opinions on this Kamala Harris price gouging policy that she has proposed?
I don't even. What was it? What was the TLDR of it?
I
I
was gonna
think I read about it.
you gotta explain the actual policy. I've heard her talk about price gouging.
Yeah, I
I
never
Yeah, let
heard
me
a
get
particular policy
Like
mentioned.
actual
She always
policy.
just talks about she's gonna fix the prices or something, and it's like if you're just gonna fix the prices, that's gonna be a problem.
Yeah, the only thing I've heard is like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna make eggs cheaper." Tiberius
Yeah.
looks frustrated with
no, I'm not frustrated with you. I'm frustrated with her. So, like, I swear to Christ, like, whoever is the campaign manager for this has literally been telling Kamala, don't say anything of substance ever at all, always.
Yeah, pretty
like,
much.
Yeah.
like literally the entire like campaign has been about instead of the
Air.
issues, just ignore giving any kind of like actual detail, actually like any policy, and just be as milk toast as possible all the way into the election. Just literally run on. You're not Trump.
Well,
And then
the short
let
answer is
Tim make you look progressive. That's gonna be a big one. Let Tim get you the progressive vote and you'll be fine.
yeah.
What were you saying, David Machine?
It's like they're trying to run on feelings instead of anything else because they want people to feel good. They want people to. They don't want to talk about anything that's like hard to describe, that's difficult to explain, or anything like that. No policy things that people can actually talk to each other about. But be like, if your feelings are hurt, then you should vote for me because things have happened that require my attention to make you feel better.
Well,
Is that any different from the Republican platform?
There you go.
Right now?
I was about to say,
Politics
look,
101.
Right.
I'm about to go like full mask off, and anybody in Demon's chat is about to start reading at me, going, "Doghouse, you're not doing this. You're not going to do this." Listen, I'm about to pull out the white dudes for Harris. Okay, so listen,
Oh my god.
listen.
Oh.
I think that it is completely reasonable, given that she has only recently, shortly jumped into this, where Donald Trump has had a year or more to actually more, I would say, argue more than a year to really formulate his policies and define them. I think that I look at with what Kamala Harris has done. I think that it's completely reasonable. And if you look at Donald Trump's policies, they're not any better. They're a little bit more detailed, but even then, his economic policy is drill, baby, drill. And it's not anything about trying to address the rising prices at the dinner table. And so that's where it's like, look, I'm not saying I'm a huge fan of the price gouging laws. Let's be clear on that. But I do want to give Kamala Harris a little bit of grace on that. That I think that when you look at what she has kind of insinuated, is it seems as if what she's implying is that there's going to be a threshold, right? Which, when you look at natural disasters that take place, there is usually a threshold. If you have a bottle of water, for example, that only yesterday was like $2, and now all of a sudden it's $10 or $20 per pack, there is some kind of price gouging potentially going on, which could be investigated. So depending on how she implements this policy would determine whether or not I give it a thumb up or a thumb down. Now, I will say price gouging through several years, I need more. I need more, but I give her a little bit of grace. Okay. But yeah. So anyways, so that's my stance. I'm sorry guys if I took the mask off and I just revealed my white dudes for Harris with my white t-shirt, okay? But yeah.
Well, I mean, like the real question is though is if you're going to stop price gouging, how do you do it? Do you just tell people you can't do it, and then you fine them if they do?
What would
Is that all?
happen? My prediction of how this would happen is very similar to what happens during natural disasters, which would be someone has to raise the claim that there is price gouging going on, in which case there would be a government body that would oversee that particular issue. They would probably investigate it, and if need be, they would actually bring in the executives or whoever needs to be brought in. They would, ask them, hey, can you justify why it's going up? At which point, then, if they determine that there was some kind of price gouging going on, they would probably fine them or something along those lines. It's hard to determine whether or not this is technically a price control, because I wouldn't say it is a price control. It's not like the government sitting there saying every product like this must
You
be
just
sold.
can't have a 100% increase on a product overnight.
Exactly.
Like that is normally that has been stable for the past 10 years.
Exactly. So, like I said, oh, Retron buddy, hey, don't mind you jumping in, man. But can you jump in at the 8 o'clock hour? There you go, buddy. I think you jumped in by accident. But anyways, that's what I think it is, and that's why, from me looking at that perspective, I'm like, okay, it sounds scary. And I know a lot of people want to try to paint her as a communist because she's trying to put in price controls, but I don't think that is exactly necessarily what is going on. And I think there is a big difference between this and price controls. So that's just my opinion on it. What do you think, fellow comrade Wes?
I think people like underthink this, and they think that price controls are going to be something like, oh, you're not allowed to charge more than 35 cents for a loaf of bread, but it costs like $1.25 to make a loaf. Like, these things are calculated and the experts are consulted. Like, you're still going to make money on a loaf of bread. And that's the part that like kind of annoys the out of me, because it's just like, sorry, I swear
Is that
more
true,
than
Tiberius?
No, it's okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. I've had a long day. I'm just a little tired.
I mean, you do farming, don't you, Tiberius?
My family does. I've actually migrated into being an electrician's apprentice, but yeah, I've got a long history with it.
So how easy is it to make money as a farmer?
Not.
Oh, here we go.
So okay, so if it's not easy to make money as a farmer, and grocery stores are making profits out the ass, where's the problem? Where do we fix the problem? Because it's not the farmers. We know that they're growing the shit and trying to get it out as fast as possible.
And it's a commodity.
Yeah.
I want people to remember this too. There are
Gotta stop
certain
hitting
products that are commodities. So when we talk about oil, for example, and a lot of people drill, baby drill, that oil is sold on a market, and that market is what determines the prices. A Shell is not saying, hey, I'm going to sell you this barrel for $10. It's whatever the market, actual physical market prices are. But anyways, go ahead, Tiberius. Sorry, wanted to throw that in there.
I mean, he's actually not too far off. One of the problems is that it's a commodities market, and there's a big conversation on if the practices of the Chicago Board of Trade are okay. One of the things that people don't realize this is that you can sell your grain before you put it in the ground. In the ground. Sometimes it's great. It helps you out. There's some times where it's like, oh wow, I could have made almost 30% more if I had sold it at market whenever it had come actually to do. But it's one of those, damned if you do, damned if you don't situations. I'm not going to get into that. Let's be real. There is a long line between field to producer. Sometimes that line is a little shorter. As example, like if you're doing watermelons right now, because it's watermelon season, that usually will be harvested by hand, put in a box, or put on the back of more particularly on the back of a truck. It'll be shipped to a distribution center, and then it might hopscotch around depending on where it is, but it's only going to change hands about 3 or 4 times before it hits your shelf. That's not too bad, but most of the things that you take in and day out, particularly when they're off season, that might come from at least a couple thousand miles away, whether it's Southern California and the fact that they can grow all year round, or whether it's from Mexico. Don't even get me started on avocados, for God's sakes.
I was just about to say, like, I know my avocados are from thousands of miles away.
Avocados are, a ways to go. You got bananas as well. But here's the real part. Some of the stuff is just, it's an industrially made product, and it's hard to be the producer of that and make a lot of money. You just have to literally do it at scale. And this is why farming is a go big or go home. Is that you have to be able to afford the now $250,000 combine to keep up with your throughput. If you've got it, you can stay competitive, but good luck getting into it. And so that's a problem. As far as the grocery stores, dude, I'll be real. I know Kroger had this article, and I'm sure that a couple of grocery stores have followed through with this, but food has been a really weird market for quite a long time. And when we've gotten down to it, we saw probably the biggest market correction on it because of COVID that we've seen in probably the last 20 years. I'm not saying it's where it needs to be, but
yeah,
I think this is an anomaly that's kind of just part of the fact that COVID screwed everything up.
Yeah. Go ahead, Wes. You wanted to say something, Wes?
Yeah, I just want to say that Target recently agreed to lower most of its food prices by something like 30%. And then Walmart and other major big box retailers followed in suit because they had all raised their prices so much that they could afford to drop it down like almost 30% recently. On like the big items they sell a lot of, like bananas, milk, eggs, stuff like that. So like the reason it's been cheaper in the last like 3 to 6 months is partially because of that, because a lot of big box retailers drop their prices on essential items.
Yeah. And I'll wrap this topic up with a little bow here and say this, and I'll get the last word because I'm the host. And so I get the last word. Hostess with the mostest, right? So what I want to say is this. I think a lot of this just really comes back down to when you peel apart the onion and you peel back the layer, you actually see it's a big, complicated beast. Okay. We just went through kind of the supply chain a little bit with Tiberius, explaining kind of how it gets to market a little bit with the grains and things like that. And as he was saying that, I was thinking about how does that supply chain look? It's a, believe it or not, it's a simple but complicated supply chain, because throughout each part of that supply chain, you have labor, you have overhead of a building, you have all these other things. And in some cases, you might have union represented warehouses or factories or things like that. Okay. So our friendly unions. But you have things like this as well that complicate the supply chain. And to further make it more complicated, you have big box retailers like Walmart, like Target, like things like that, that actually sell other products. This is taught very much so in college and very much in other businesses, product diversification. What Target has mastered with this, as well as Walmart, is they're able to kind of bring you in and have loss leaders and things like that to get you to come in and buy that new hot TV that they white labeled because they were able to get it manufactured for cheaper, but it's basically just a Samsung TV. You guys know what I'm talking about. If you're into electronics, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So that's one thing what I want to talk about is when you look at profit, understand that profit is a complicated beast because some stores will not reveal the exact product breakdown of their profit margins. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna move on to go ahead, Wes. I'll let you get the last word, Wes, because there's a lot there for you. I'll let you get the last word.
The last word I want to have is when it comes to food, if you are making money off of Kroger merch and you're making 20% more off of Kroger merch, and you could put that money towards reducing the prices of food, which is something that people need, you should have done that instead of posting.
Yep. So for anyone unaware, we have started a new show called the Political Compass. We are a group of people. This is not necessarily a regular debate panel that you guys may experience normally.
Yeah.
You may notice that there are varying viewpoints in this very room. So the fun thing about this is that all of us have kind of come together. We've all been in the same spaces together. The other thing is that we've all been pretty tired of how conversations are taking place online. So this is kind of a way for us to get together, have a reasonable conversation, and honestly bring back some of that normalcy back to online politics.